you have Jack 9 of hearts on King 6-5, do you just play?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so you can see
Oh
it right
shit.
here. So,
oh my
so
god.
here's King.
Then I'm folding an
Button
obscene
opens.
amount. What's up guys, my name is Lex Veldhuis and welcome to another installment of BBZ Coaching. These were recorded during WCoop, where my sessions with Jordan served as a warm-up for the big sessions to come. It is a really good idea to study before your sessions so you start all warmed up and you don't make any mistakes at the beginning, or at least mistakes you knew about beforehand. This week we're going to learn about how to play post-flop after calling from the big blind. Obviously, we play a wide range of hands, and it's going to put us into some marginal spots that Jordan's going to teach us a lot about. If you missed the last week's episode, make sure you check that out. Then we talked more about pre-flop, and there's a lot of important things to fix. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the video. Peace!
So when we look at pre-flop charts, essentially, we're told to defend the big blind with a pretty wide range, and that naturally puts us in some fairly precarious situations after the flop. The weaker the hands that you defend pre-flop, the tougher the situations will tend to be after the flop. So we're just going to look at Lex getting dealt a reasonable amount of equity post-flop. So like, again, this is why having someone who actually knows how to use PT4 properly can be quite helpful. We're filtered in a specific way so that Lex will have a certain amount of equity. Basically, like not too much, not too little, and he will fold the flop. And we're going to talk about whether or not it was a good idea to fold the flop, whether or not he should have done something differently. So this is the first spot.
Yeah, I'm happy. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to hear that because, like, I feel like this is just for the people that they know as well. Like, I don't mind sharing this. One of the things that comes back repeatedly is that I either fold too much on the flop after defending the big blind, or that I don't check raise the big blind enough. So it's something that we're really trying to hammer down right now. Like, okay, what's this, and how do we permanently fix it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for the backstory for Lex, one of the things we're definitely working on is his big blind win rate. And this is kind of a critical component of that. So that's one of the reasons why we're looking at this. So it makes sense, hopefully, for both you guys and for him. Okay, so we defend 10-7 suited in the big blind, pretty standard pre-flop call. Nothing really needs to be said about that. We're definitely never, ever folding any suited hands from the big blind versus a button min raise. And we face a pretty small bet, and I just wanted to kind of hear you walk me through, what you think about the hand. Do you think this is a pretty standard fold? If you think this is maybe you should have done something differently. Just walk me through your thoughts.
So first things that I would always check is bet size, because I think that dictates a lot of how light I call and how much of my range I defend, I should say.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty small bet. The second thing I'm looking for is if I don't have a mate hand, obviously, if I don't have a pair, because that gets you in a much different category. The second thing I look for is like, how do my suits and future streets play into this hand, right? So this hand, I have a backdoor heart draw. 10 and 7 could be good. I'm gonna guess that I'm end up folding this hand, and for the reasons that if I want to do anything with this hand, I generally would like to have some connection to the 3 and the deuce, so that I can make a running straight with like a 4, 5, 6 run out, that sort of thing.
Sure. So I think one of the things, kind of just jump in real quick. So one of the things that I know you think about that you didn't mention was the position of the opener, right? You definitely think about that.
Yeah.
So the fact that this player's on the button does translate to more uncomfortable defense, but it sounds like this is a pretty deliberate fold by you. And I'm not trying to do too much solver work, but this is the counter strategy versus a 25% C bet, and there's your 10-7 of hearts. So even after the fact, with like more time to think about it, you still want it to fold. This hand is a fully weighted play against a quarter pot bet, which is approximately speaking, actually almost exactly, I think, what your opponent deployed here. So this is not a fold. So this is one of the hands that we need you to think a little bit about. We need to check raise here. We need to call here. This particular board texture doesn't actually fold any backdoor flush draws.
Wow.
Which is actually kind of like, that's not obvious when you just like, you're playing this spot and you're just like, oh yeah, I have 10-7 of hearts. This is like probably one of the worst backdoor flush draws, right? I mean, to your point, you can't make straights, right? So like if you have like 10-9, you could backdoor a straight. If you have, Jack 10, you could backdoor a straight. If you have, 6-5 or 6-7 or something, you could backdoor a straight. This can't. So this feels like one of the worst ones. Still pure play though. They're all plays. So one of the reasons for that is because this player doesn't have that much interaction with this board. This player doesn't crush this board. This player doesn't hit the board that hard. You have lots of equity against lots of the hands in this player's range. Just a live 10 and a live 7, basically.
So is that also is one of the reasons for that? Do we heavily also look at his offsuit, the bottom of his offsuit opening range? So like if it's
Always.
like so it's like if it's like high cards. So let's say like king 4-5 is the same thing with a hand like 10-8. Or is it specifically like a 3 deuce and a 4 that makes it that makes
I think
it
it's
good?
a 3 deuce 4. I think it's a 3 deuce 4 more often than not. I can check king 5-4. No, king 5-4. Yeah, the other difference with king 5-4 is you start to have so the primary difference with this flop. So let's talk about the difference between king 3 deuce and king 5-4. On king 3 deuce, you can't have any backdoor flush draws with a dangler. So that's like a PLO idea, right? You're probably familiar with it. But it's like an idea that you have a card for everyone else that's below the board, right? So on king 5-4, you could have like 10 deuce of hearts. You could have like king 5-4, where it's like hearts, diamonds, and spades, and then you would have 10 deuce of clubs. Oh, sorry, I apologize. We're talking about backdoor flush draws, right? So you could have 10 deuce of hearts or something, and those hands will be folds because they have an undercard to the 4, right? On king 3 deuce, you can't have an undercard to the 3 and the deuce.
Okay.
That's what makes all of your backdoor flush draws a play.
Yeah.
So
that would be the distinction if I want to know, like does that go up until like king 6-5, etc., where it's just like, okay, you have jack 9 of hearts on king 6-5, do you just play?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so you can see it right
shit.
here. So,
oh my god.
Here's king 6-5, here's jack 9.
Then I'm folding an obscene amount.
Big blind calls, jack 9, jack 8, jack 7, 10-9, queen 8, 10-7, whatever you want, like whichever one you pick one. But we now have this part, right?
Yeah.
We now have this like dangler part where it's like we've got this like 10 deuce, jack deuce, queen deuce.
We always want to be in between.
10-3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We want to be between the king and the second lowest card on the flop. Then we can't fold. So this board has a lot of those. So you can't fold any. They're all like that. So this board doesn't fold any backdoor flush draws.
Man, I kind of feel like I should play less like small tournaments. Like this is
when you have to play a lot more hands, it can get more dicey to mass table.
Yeah, because I'm like autopiloting the small stuff more to make runs for the stream. But I'm starting to wonder if it's like, because like if you think about pure equity, right? Like the registering a 22 bounty builder has a lot of equity for me because if I have a deep run, people won't care that it's a 22. So the equity of that is like the same as like a $400 tournament deep run sometimes. So, but if the multi-tabling starts cutting into my win rate and my ability to win chips in other tournaments so hard, then it's not worth it anymore because I'll go deep less often,
100%.
Yeah.
Totally possible that you need to think about that.
Yeah.
This one's pretty trivial, so I'm not going to, there's no tricks, by the way. We're just filtered for you having, so for example, the filter is like, do we have a backdoor flush draw? Did we fold? So we're going to fold, first of all, we're going to fold all these hands. So you don't have to ever wonder, did I fold? The answer to that question is yes.
Yeah.
You folded.
Yeah.
And then you had some amount of, something that made the hand have, a reasonable amount of equity. So did you have, did you have a backdoor flush draw? Did you have a gut shot? Did you have a backdoor straight draw? Did you have 2 overcards to the board? That's what we're filtered for. So those types of hands oftentimes are more resilient than people give them credit for. Case in point, this hand is a pure play, 0% fold.
Yeah.
But this one, we're facing a larger bet. We have 2 overcards, but it's not enough. We're going to pure fold this hand. I don't want you to feel like every single one of these is a call, right? It's just like you do have to think it through because some of these will be calls, some of these will be folds. All right, so this one's maybe a little closer. So how do you think about this one?
All right. So, I mean, I have so much connectivity. Like, I just look at the 6 of clubs and you're just like, wow, So I do think that I have a lot of future street equity on, 5, 4, 3, 7, obviously. But backdoor flush draw, the 3 is a little bit of a problem, though. Being under the 6, I would still think it's going to make it.
This one's super close, so I think it's fine to assume that this one's going to make it. I think if you're up against the button, this one would make it. Against the cutoff, this one folds, but 7-4 is pure play.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So that's how close it is, right? So pretty similar amount of equity.
Yeah, the 7-4 is nice because if the turn is an 8, etc., It's like a little bit more. Yeah.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better, right? So 7-4 is the pure play. 7-3 we can get away with a fold here, but very close hand considering if we're one notch up or
what's like okay, so that's all like check calling. Like what capabilities of those hands are we check raising when it's like 7-8 of clubs? like that
No,
connected to?
you could check raise 7-4 here. So it's a mix. It's a 50-50. It oscillates between calling and raising.
Yeah.
Pretty much neutral. Doesn't matter which option you take. The option that's out is folding, but what you could 2-bet or call. Both are on the table.
Yeah. Oh, there we are.
Yeah, we can probably think about this one.
Well,
What do you
this
think
one,
about that?
yeah, this has to be pure as well. I mean, I would say that okay, we're up against cutoff, but bet sizing is small. We have the 2 in between cards with a backdoor flush draw. I would say that one of the dangers here, though, is that it's not rainbow, so the equity for us hitting a 7 or a queen goes down because it could be a heart. So I do think it's important to mention that specific thing. But given that our 7 also connects nicely to the 5 and the 4, I do think we played it pure.
Mix. So it's close.
Ooh.
For pretty much all the reasons you mentioned. I think if your opponent bets like a quarter pot, you'll wind up with this one being like a pure play. But this is a mix. So again, it's close. Basically for all the reasons you mentioned. So there's no reason to really like harp on about it. But yeah, it's just not a pure play, but it's close.
So the hearts being on board has a big effect on it for the reasons I mentioned, or
so there's a few things going on. So one of them is the board's a little bit more connected. So there's the 5-4 component. Your opponent opening the cutoff is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that we're up against an earlier position open matters a lot, right? We're dropping from around like a 48% open to a 36% open. So that's a lot of every single incremental hand going from 36 to 48 is a weak hand. It's trash. So they're the weakest hands in the range. So when you pull out the weakest hands in the range, that matters. So a part of it is the cutoff being the opener, not the button. A part of it's the 1/3 size, not 25%. And a part of it is the fact that you don't have clean outs, right? So there's a lot of different variables that are inputs to making it a little bit different. This is too big of a bet. We're not really gonna think about that against half pot. It's too weak of a hand. This against this bet size for sure. Even against a weaker bet size, I'd be folding. How do you think about this one?
So up against the cutoff range, but I think interesting. Well, it's rainbow, so that's good. Small bet, cutoff range. I'm wondering now because if the queen 7 seems the queen 7 has a 7 connected to the 5 and the 4. This one doesn't, but I do think that it's because it's rainbow. We pure play it. Final
I would
answer.
have, This one I would have played, yeah. This one I would have played also. So combination of bet sizing and everything, I would have been playing that one.
Oh,
yeah. It's a larger bet makes it harder. You're up though.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, yeah, skip it. Okay, so I think the bet sizing is just too big. We're up versus the cutoff. I mean, if I have 10-8 of diamonds, I'm calling. If I have 1 heart in my hand, I'm calling. But I think this variation, I will want to fold, and I would just play it versus smaller bet sizes.
I'd probably mix. So I think it's like very close. I don't think you get to pure fold this hand. One of the reasons why I don't think you get to pure fold this hand is the only gut shot that's better than this is 10-9. There's no like overcard gut shots. So like it's not like this gut shot's like dominated by a lot of gut shots. Like it's different when if the board's like Jack 8-5, like Jack 8-6 or something, and then you have like Queen 10s and Queen 9s and things. Then these ones get much worse. But I would probably be mixing this one off. I wouldn't be pure folding here. Yeah, I think that this would be one that I would want to look up. So just give me a second here.
Yeah.
I want to look this one up in. We're going to use the AI.
Oh.
The reason we're going to use the AI is because this particular bet size is not one that I don't think that the GTOs or default settings will use. So one of the nice things is I can put in any bet size I want with the AI, and we can see what it recommends. So if your opponent bets 66%, which is what they bet, and we look at 10-8, I said I'd mix it, and without the heart, it's almost pure fold without a heart. So I was wrong. We should just fold this one. With a heart we're pure playing. And without the heart, it is close. I mean, like anytime that there's even a little bit of green, it means the hand's worth about 0. You guys can see what calling is worth right here. Calling is worth 0. You can see going all in is worth much less than 0. So it's very close. I mean, like if calling is worth 0, it's close. And so I was wrong, but it is close. And if we have the opponent splitting, calling should get worse. If we have the opponent splitting, we can see the impacts of this, which is just interesting for people that haven't messed with this at all. The reason that calling should get worse, it frequently will get worse, is because now the weaker hands go into the smaller size on average, and the stronger hands go to the bigger size again on average. So you start to see, you can start to see some of the hands that were close start to deteriorate a little bit. But this one stays. Yes, so you can see now, if you recall previously, calling with this was worth exactly 0, and now that we're up against a splitting strategy, calling is worth just slightly less than 0. Obviously, it's still close. Your opponent's choosing the exact same bet size. But you can see that once your opponent starts to use multiple sizes on the flop, the bigger size has a negative impact on some of the weaker holdings in your range.
Yeah, I also want people to know if they look up a hand in like GTO Wizard or something, if GTO Wizard gives you like a big green plaque, and you're like, oh, cool, so this was profitable, but there's a sliver of blue. Just the other. If you could pull up the GTO.
Yeah, I'll pull back.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like, if you see that it's the opposite, right? You have a sliver. You have a sliver of blue on the side. That also means that it's profitable, but barely, and like it's almost worth nothing. So you can think like, oh, this was amazing, or I made the right play, but you're kind of fooling yourself. Once a different color enters, like the one Jordan has pulled up now, you can see that it has 0 preference if you raise, call, or fold. The pink is raise, and then the green is call, and then the blue is fold. It doesn't fucking matter. Like everything's worth 0, so just do everything with the same frequency, and then you're doing it right. So it's very important to note that, because that's why Jordan said that there's a sliver of calling, so calling isn't bad,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then it works both ways. That's exactly right. So, it just means that the decisions are close. But a lot of people do fool themselves. They see something and it's like 90% blue and 10% green, and they're like, oh, it's a fold. And it's like, well, it's still close, right? So if you have any kind of peripheral information, if your opponent's opening too wide, maybe you shouldn't fold the flop. If your opponent's c-betting too much, maybe you should check raise more.
Yeah.
So when when all of the options are relatively close, it means other variables might start to dictate how we behave, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to fold this one against that position. How do you think about this one?
Phew. Yeah, I don't think we can. The deuce is a dangler in this case, so that's not great. It does connect to like 3, 3-5, but it makes the sucker straight. I actually think we're just gonna fold this one.
I wouldn't fold. I would probably check raise this a lot. This one's a more vanilla one. I'm not gonna look up every single one, but just because I think this was more important, because it's a little bit more fundamental. You can see that it's worth a lot of money too. So it's worth around 29 big blinds per 100. We can't fold. We can call. We can raise. You can see King Ace 3 is worth even more, which has the same pretty similar properties to Ace Deuce.
You can do whatever the fuck you want as long as you don't fold.
Fold.
Okay, so that's also just because like the back, just making the nuts, right? You actually fold a hand that can backdoor into like 100 big blind pot easily.
Yeah, I think what matters a little more is actually that we have the overcard to the king. So we do have a nut draw, but that's if you isolate. So this is the way I like to think about poker. If you isolate just the flush draw component, does it really matter that much that an ace high flush draw beats a queen high flush draw? Probably not. I mean, like, I don't think it matters that much. It matters a little bit, for sure. It matters, but does it matter a lot? I don't know if I would say it matters like a ton. So, but queen deuce of hearts is sharply negative, like sharply negative, right? So ace 2 of hearts is sharply positive. It's not like queen 2 of hearts is like mixing and it's close. It's indifferent. It's not indifferent at all.
The overcard to the king is very important, I guess.
Yeah. I think, and you can see that also because you'll see hands like ace 8 offsuit are plays, right? And like ace 7 offsuit's a play. So I think having the overcards are really having an overcard to the king is a pretty critical detail, because you just have that direct equity, right? You got the other guy's king queen if he's value betting. He has king jack if he's value betting. He has king 10 if he's value betting. If you don't have that overcard, I mean, like, you would need a runner to suck out, right? Like, just that direct. Oh, I have an ace. Like, the turn's an ace, I win. Like, that's amazing. Big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's a good one. It's what I really like about it is that it's not. It seems very technical and fenced off, right? It's like, these are the capabilities of your hand. Cool, not flush out, but you have overcard. It doesn't matter if you have a dangler. Okay, cool, boom. We know that now, right? Like, that's amazing. If it's like king and 2 wheel cards, and you're in the middle, you have backdoor flush out, never fold. Like, these are the kind of things also for people, like if I make notes after a study session, that's the thing I note, right? It's like king or queen with two wheel cards. I have a backdoor flush draw, never fold. That's all you need to know, and then you don't have to look at it anymore. And then you make a sub-specific for a dangler being below the board, or the ace, that the ace is above the top card, whatever, that you never fold backdoor flush draws with it. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I would also point out that we're concentrating on button cutoff and hijack opens. So there will be no MP like UTG opens, right? There will be no under the gun opens.
Right.
So this is very specifically the strategy that we're deploying against later position steals. So we're up against slightly weaker ranges. Obviously, the weakest one is the button. But if I did just the button, then some people might just start playing really badly against the hijack or something. So I wanted to have a little bit of contrast in there. So we have button cutoff and hijack opening. We're seeing that we need to play much wider ranges when the board's rainbow, when it's disconnected, like fairly disconnected, like king 6-4 or king 6 deuce or king deuce 3. We're looking at a lot of like defending a lot more on high low boards. That's one of the other things that's been kind of like constant, right? Is that the overfolding seems to be happening on these like high low rainbow boards. So we're not seeing overfolding, for example, on like king queen jack or like king jack 9 or king 10 8. That's not where the overfold's coming from. It's coming from these like high low boards that are like king deuce 3, king 6-4, king 5-3, like those types of boards. So like you're trying to understand, okay, like where do I need to play more hands? Where are the issues? What types of hands? What kind of boards? All of it matters, right? So like this okay, well, it's a little bit more complicated, I guess, when you best one big blind. So what do you want to do?
I mean,
okay, so you're so short too.
Yeah.
I'd fold.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, fold.
I would still fold.
Yeah.
So interestingly, if one of the things that you need to think about is high card versus low card backdoor flush draw, right? So if you had the queen of spades, I'd play pure personally.
Okay.
But you don't, right? You have the 6 of spades. That matters.
God, amazing. Fuck. I always leave so motivated,